People are saying, but Prince, you just played in the NFL for 10 plus years. It's like, yes, but I'm not saying that that wasn't my choice, but that's just something that I happen to be so good at. And so now I get to take ownership and say, okay, what do I want to do? What do I enjoy doing and can see myself doing for a long time? And I'm at a place where I'm still figuring that out.
Well, it's the one and only Prince Amukamara. Welcome, Prince.
Thank you for having me, Brad. I appreciate this.
It's a good shirt, man.
Thank you, man. I guess we're gonna be breaking news today, but I kind of want to break it for you. So I'm sure everyone with AFT has been wondering what's been going on. Were you looking at the new head of construction, right, Brad? I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Prince is the best. So, Prince, and again, this is tailing off of last night. We had a good run of basketball, so that's always good.
We did, man. It's always fun playing with you.
Likewise. So, Prince, one thing I'll just to give Prince some credit. So, Prince and I connected on Instagram. I think you started following me, started messaging me, and where I'll give you is you're very curious, right? You were asking me a ton of questions. You were asking about building. This is something you're doing, not just personally, but for your own careers. Your career's changed, um, and you're very curious. So you'd always ask, and then we go play basketball. And one thing that I told you last night is you're probably one of the most competitive people I've ever met, and I love that because I
Mm,
feel like I'm very competitive, and so
right.
Prince last night, we were having a little competition. He could be a better 3-point shooter, but you got to watch out for Prince, man. When game's on the line, no one wants to battle Prince when it's game time. So,
Right. Yeah, but I mean, I think that's what makes us go. I mean, especially in your field, like you said, you're super competitive. You want to be either like the best boss you can be, the best builder, and obviously the best husband and father. And so, same with me. I wanted to be the best football player, best husband, best father. So I don't think competitiveness just starts and stops, in the professional field. It also goes into, in all the other fields also.
I agree. It's funny how you made that correlation that, yeah, between business, sports. I mean, there's so much correlation between the two. Do you feel you're always competitive? I mean, was this just natural to you?
Yeah, I grew up, and every time after school, I'd go to this recreation spot. So from like 3 to 6, I'm there, and there's a whole bunch of games. I got to learn ping pong, foosball, and even before that, I lived about half a mile, well, not half a mile, but maybe a couple of hundred yards from school, and I would always race, be the first one at school at recess. And I'm the only one in the race though. Everyone's walking to school and I'm just running past everybody just so I can be first. So I think it's something that's always been in me. And yeah, like I just always wanted to be first, whether it's in school and anything. And yeah, like when we were being competitive on the court, obviously, I don't want to even admit this. You're a good shooter. You're a great shooter, but part of me still thinks. I mean, I wouldn't bet. I don't know what I would bet on it, but part of me still thinks I could beat you, but it wouldn't be a good bet.
Well, I'll tell you what, from a physical strength and domination down low, yeah, I'm not gonna challenge that. But maybe on the 3-point line, that's the only hope I got against Prince. But
Right.
um, how do you, let me start here. I think what's interesting, and we spoke about this last night. What's unique about the NFL is it's a very transitional business, right? It's the career is not very long. Contracts aren't guaranteed like they're in the NBA and NFL or NBA and MLB. So, for you, I mean, you're super young. I mean, you're already in now phase two of your career. How do you know when it's time to make that transition from someone who was, top 10 draft pick, super successful, Super Bowl, right? I mean, you've had a very elite career, Prince, and how tough was it to make that decision to say, okay, now I'm going to phase two of my career?
Yeah. So I would say that the thing that's difficult or that can be difficult about that decision is it ending when you're not ready for it to end. And so I'd say how careers end is either you make the decision or someone makes the decision for you. So meaning either injury can make the decision for you or the team just stop calling, or the best case is, like driving out into the sunset, you won a Super Bowl, you're done, and stuff like that, which rarely happens. And so I would say with my career, I've always been, like you said, curious about the business part of just life, whether it be stocks, bonds, crypto right now, or private equity stuff, or just real estate investing. And so those always kind of interested me. And I always tell people too, you have to understand is that I've been playing football every year since I was 9. Like
Hmm.
every year tackle football since I was 9. Every year from 9 until like 33, 32. I've been playing football every year. And so that's everything I poured my energy into, time into. And so like you said, I'm in the second phase of life. And so it's like, okay, what else can I pour that same amount of time or even half of that and still be successful at? And so to me, I'm like wide-eyed, like gosh, there's so much. Like I said, there's real estate, there's private equity stuff, and so the bad thing about that is you can go broke doing that and stuff like that just because you want to try so many things. But I think what I did a good job of doing is meeting with certain people and building relationships and networking in those fields to kind of minimize that risk. So I right now I what I tell everyone is that I'm a serial entrepreneur, and
Hmm.
meaning I've took some hits on the chin, which are like I think those are learning experiences, but I'm everywhere. I mean, I got my real estate license, which was super hard, and so but I've been doing a lot of real estate investing on my own. I'm in some private equity stuff, so some venture stuff, some like startups. I'm in the restaurant world out here in Phoenix. I'm in assisted living. I'm in FedEx. I have my own YouTube channel as like a kids
Hmm.
educational character. So
Which is awesome.
thank you. And so I'm just everywhere, just trying to find my niche right now.
So let me ask you this. I mean, as you're looking at this, as you mentioned, I mean, there's a lot of contacts. You've been focused on football. Now you're going into your career, and you do have a network. You have people, you have mentors. What mentors played a role to help you because most of us still pivot through our career. I mean, it's the reason I'm bringing it up. I had a peer of mine, and he was probably 38 at the time, and he was going back to medical school. And his
Mm,
point was, he's like, look, I have lived a career, but the reality is, by the time I get out of medical school and go through, the clinical trials and everything he was doing, he's like, I still have 30 years, that I'm going to be
right.
working, right? Till probably I'm 75. I'll be done when I'm 45. And I thought that was interesting because so many of us maybe start a career and pivot. And so for you, there is probably not an expedite, but you have to look at, okay, football's done. Now, where do I go? What mentors played a role to help you know where your strengths are and what you would, be great aptitude for you?
Yeah, and I would say my mentors. I would say they're indirect mentors, so they would give me nuggets, but they didn't know that they were giving me nuggets. It was just casual
Hmm.
and genuine conversation. But I would say a lot of my teammates, like I see guys like the one that always comes to mind is Victor Cruz. Played with him when I was with the New York Giants, and just seeing how he carried himself on and off the field, his work ethic, and how he parlayed his career and kind of used his contacts and network to get to where he is now. I mean, winning a Super Bowl in his hometown of New Jersey, and him just being in the fashion world, and so just seeing how he had those interests and found people who were the decision makers of those interests and kind of put him in the position he is now. So I would do the same. And the thing is, it's not. I feel like like as a professional athlete, like we're always expecting people to give us things, or um and so I never wanted to be. I don't want to do that to somebody that I'm looking to get something for. So I don't want it to be a take relationship. So I always started out as a genuine conversation, just trying to get to know the person and see what I can offer him. Is there any value I can offer that person, and kind of see how that goes from there.
I found it interesting because fortunately I've been able to spend a little bit of time with you, Prince. I mean, most of it's been, basketball, but we've been able to meet a few times outside of, basketball and walk some projects and speak on the phone and so forth. And I've always been interested as I've watched you is that I know I mentioned this to you is that um, I'm fascinated as I started this conversation with the curiosity. And so like when you come to projects, you're asking a lot of questions, you're very observant. And I feel that a lot of people say, well, Brad, why do you do the podcast? And the funny thing is when I first started, I was like, well, I know some interesting people. I've worked for some great clients, that are really good entrepreneurs. And over the years, as I've spoken to guests such as yourself, Prince, it's like there's so much takeaway I get from my guests that I have on as I ask them questions and have this hour with them. And probably similar to you, I mean, as you're going through and you're asking questions, being on the job site, looking at these projects, I mean, um, how has that evolved to? We mentioned that you're much more honed now from private equity and real estate, even the restaurant industry. But how does just that curious mentality that you have, how has that led to success now outside of football?
Man, that's a good question. Um, just always wanting to learn. And I remember, I know this is cliche, but I've always heard the phrase, there's no such thing as a dumb question. And so I took that as like the license to ask any question. Now, there may be inappropriate questions which have gotten me in trouble um, at times, but definitely no such thing as a dumb question. So I remember even when I was playing football, I remember the coach would say, "Hey, Prince, this cover two, this is what you're doing," and then I'll ask it again. And not only will I ask the defensive coordinator, I'm going to ask my position coach just to make sure everyone's on the same page and just to see how he sees it. He might give me something that my defensive coordinator hasn't, and so that's my same approach to business. Anytime that I'm interested in something, like I really want to know because I'm trying to have a plan for that information. How can I use this to my advantage? Where are my holes? Where's my risk? Where can I be aggressive? And so once I have all that information, I'm able to go out and play. So as I'm explaining it, it's similar to football. Like, okay, where's my weakness in this coverage? Okay, can I do this? Okay, am I allowed to do this? Okay, what happens if this if this person motions this way and stuff like that? So it's kind of analysis into paralysis when I ask questions, but it's been super beneficial to me. And again, I'm not just hoarding information; it's actually knowledge. And I feel like um, um, wisdom. I think I was told wisdom is the application of knowledge.
Hmm.
So me applying that information, applying that knowledge is just me having wisdom. I mean, not to toot my own horn, but it's been helpful. And like I said, there's times I go and stuff blindly, and I wouldn't suggest that. But for me, those are just learning experiences, and those help me a lot. And I have a lot of those. Like I said, I've took a lot of hits on the chin, but I'm still standing, and those help me out a lot.
I love your application of, speaking about not just from the defensive coordinator, but from the position coach. And I'd imagine even maybe the offensive coordinator, receivers to some extent. The reason being is as you apply that to business, this is why I love the correlation with athletics and business, because there was a former mentor of mine who, I mean, he didn't hire specifically for athletes, but if anyone was an athlete at any level, like,
Mm,
it always in his mind gave him a leg up in that interview process. The reason being is that competitive nature, right? And where I'm going is that, in business, I often say on the podcast that, we're business owners, you and I, Prince, that happen to focus in real estate or construction or whatever it may be,
right.
maybe the restaurant industry. And there's so much value I found, as I attend, and work with interior designers, as I understand, work with architects, people inside and outside of my business to understand how they run their business, how they do their pricing, what are their pain points, what do they struggle with, with that client communication, what do they struggle with on the expectation side? Because by getting all those different perspectives, now I can kind of take that application to me and say, okay, well, how can I be, as you mentioned early on, be more competitive in my business to be better at AFT? And how that relates to athletics is probably similar to you. I mean, if you have an understanding of how the offense is calling their audibles and run their
Right.
offense, and the defensive coverage is, it's going to put you, when you're already playing with the elite, it puts you at a separation level from an intelligence side, knowing exactly what's coming at you.
Exactly. No, 100%. And I want to jump on what you said about hiring athletes. Um, there's like NASCAR is a organization that hires a lot of athletes, and they hire them because in the I think it's called in the pit. Those because athletes are so competitive and obviously strong and athletic, like they're gonna hurry up and break down the car and put it on fast because we know time less spent in the pit gives you a greater advantage in winning the race. And it's the same with sales. Like people hire former athletes as salespeople because they're not afraid to get rejected, meaning like they've been told no um, a lot of times in their lives, and meaning they've persevered through things. So when things don't go their way and they're dealing with adversity, they know how to persevere and get through them. And just like problem solving, like they're quick to think on their feet. So like the athlete's mind, I feel like it's so it's different than most, and it's almost a leg up in a sense. So I've been seeing that. I mean, like I always ask myself, like, how come my wife and I are so different and stuff like that? And maybe just because we're she's a woman and I'm a man, but still, it's just other things where I'm like I'm like, ugh. I'm just, I don't want to say too much, but I'm just like, uh, here's an example. Here's an example. Okay, here's an example. Hopefully, and I'm apologizing ahead of time, but here's an example. It's like yes, there's like I think I'm just a problem solver at in nature. So okay, the kids are doing this. Kids won't eat this. Okay, what are we gonna do about it? Can we like? I get the problem, but like let's be solution based. And what are we gonna do about it? I would always joke with her is and say like for every solution I have, you have a problem. For every solution I have. But yeah, the athlete's mind is just it's wired completely different. And I love that I'm wired this way.
It's funny you bring that up. You often hear that a lot of people are like, "Oh, I could have played professional sports, but I had a bad coach or whatever." And most people don't realize the separation at that, at that professional level to like amateur level at whatever. And the reaction time is funny when how you bring up the pit for NASCAR because we used to bring Hassan Reddick to play basketball, like
Right.
you come, and again, I think you and I have been fortunate to play around a lot of athletes, in basketball at different levels, and anytime I've seen you there or I've seen Hassan there, your reaction time is so much faster than anyone I've ever seen. Like it's just like it's amazing how fast your brain's calculating where the ball is going to be, especially as defenders, because both of you are elite defenders at the NFL level.
Right.
And so that's the part that there's just this whole, as you made this analogy between the reaction time, between sales, personality, being in front of a microphone, being on podcasts, being a public speaker. I mean, there's so much correlation that give you an advantage as you get into the professional world to say, hey, I have this reaction time. I have these sales tools, right, that allow you the flexibility you have in your career.
Right. No, 100%. And even again, like even with public speaking, you're right. Like we're always used to having like a microphone in front of our face, always trying to be PC or politically correct. And I'm so used to being politically correct. Um, like um I kind of hide my personality. So I'm always thinking, okay, like how can I not slip up in saying something that I'm not supposed to say and stuff like that. And so it kind of limits my personality just because like the last 15, 16 years of my life has always been, hey, don't throw this person under the bus, even though it is their fault. Don't speak bad about this person. And it's that's how my mind is working. It's like, okay, when I get asked a question, how can I, be so PC where there's no sound bite, nobody's taking a sound bite, and I mean, you see it now, like Michael Parsons. I don't know if you see it. Michael
Yeah.
Parsons had said something about. I mean, his intentions were good, talking about his player, his teammate, just saying like, "Hey, like we want to win for the offensive lineman. I think his name is Zach. We want to win from him. Like he's been here longer than like Coach McCarthy, and how he said it was Coach McCarthy hasn't did nothing yet or doesn't
Hmm.
deserve whatever, and that was the soundbite. But what Michael really meant was that, hey, I want to win for this guy. He's been on the team for 11 years. Mike McCarthy's been on the team for 5 years. Mike McCarthy's probably going to find another job. But this guy, Zach Martin, has been here for 11 years. He might not be here next year. So I want to like that's who I want to win for and stuff like that. And so it's tough, but it's definitely a skill. And I've seen guys do it great. And so but when I do podcasts now, I'm trying to say forget it. I'm just trying to I don't have to be PC unless I'm ready to be canceled. and I'm not ready to be canceled yet, so I'm not going to be as candid.
Well, there's some conversation probably won't take place on this podcast, but you have some of the best comedic timing of anyone I've ever met. And so there's a few times that Prince will say something and he catches me off guard. It's pretty funny. And
Yeah,
Marcus is going to be coming on, Marcus Wheaton, and he said,
Wheaton.
yeah, and Marcus is like one of his favorite memories. I think you guys played together in Chicago, if I'm not mistaken, with the
Yeah.
Bears. And he
Yep.
said, Prince in the locker room is unlike anyone you've ever met. He's one of the most like spirited individuals. And I love that because you keep people on their toes because like where I'll give you credit, Prince, is you're so knowledgeable about, again, recently politics, right? We've been going through this political thing.
Right.
You're so knowledgeable about both sides, right? Of how people
Yep.
feel and believe. And you're so knowledgeable about politics and religion. You ask a lot of questions about sports and business. And so you can keep people on their toes because you have this delivery where they don't know what side of the ledger you are and you know no matter what it is.
No, exactly. And so I can kind of play both sides. Like we were talking to like one of the guys we play basketball with um yesterday, and I told him, I said, you know what, man, I see you differently now. And it's so funny because just me saying that, because we had a talk that he was we had a talk that he was we had a talk last week, and he told us he told us who he was voting for, which was
Mhm.
Trump. And so and then so now the following Monday I told him, you know what, I see you differently now. And he's like, man, Prince, don't tell me. And I said, no, 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 no. And I said, no, 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 not about that, but about like, shoot, like, I didn't know you're from the south side of Chicago. I didn't know, like, and because he was telling us, like, he's from south side of Chicago, and how he used to live. And I'm like, dude, you're a completely different person now, because I could not see you even live that life, and stuff like that. And so I love conversations like that, because you never know somebody's past until you ask about it. You never know how someone's gonna vote until you ask about it. Like, I definitely stereotyped him, and I'm sure I've been stereotyped. So I like to break those.
Yeah, I do like that you say that because it is interesting. I mean, so much about life is experience because a lot of us, our I don't want to say our bubble, but like our view of life, our view of the world, our view of people is based on our experiences, right? Or maybe how we're
Right.
raised or neighborhoods or, cities, states, wherever we grew up. And, um, to be introspective like that and understand different cultures and people, like it just gives you a better understanding. For you, Prince, a lot of people talk about work life balance. I have a hard time at that because I think that it's really difficult to have work life balance, especially as
Yeah.
you're running a company and working. I mean, for you, getting married while you're in the NFL, having kids, having a family now, like what, again, work life balance is never gonna be perfect, but again, you're traveling as an athlete, you're training. How is that, how was it learning how to balance your family and personal life and professional sports? How's that played a role now as you're balancing family again, with your career?
Yeah. Number one is priority. So, meaning, like, who comes first, and who's most important. So that's my wife and my kids. So I all that stuff I just named, the restaurants, um, the FedEx business, the assisted living, my YouTube channel, all that stuff, even appearances that I still get to do. All that stuff wouldn't matter as long as my if my if it's hurting my family. And so, meaning, like, my kids want dad to stay home, like my wife is like, hey, you're doing too much. So, and communication kind of solves all that. So, like, I always ask my wife, like, hey, are you cool with this? And my mind's already made up, like, basically, like, I might do it if if you say no, or you're gonna have to give me a good reason. But for the most part, it's like, hey, are you okay with this? And we'll talk about it. And if she says yeah, like, it's a green light, then I'm gonna go, and stuff like that. And so I think you were saying this. I don't think that there's a true balance. Like, you do have to allocate your time, and your efforts more to one than the other. But I think, if there's communication, then all that's solved. And so, like, for right now, again, not to flex, but I mean, I don't have to work for money right now, and I hope I don't have to work for money ever again. But I do it because I choose to, and it's fun. I actually get to do something that's exciting that I want to do and that's fun. People are saying, "But Prince, you just played in the NFL for 10 plus years." It's like, yes, but I'm not saying that that wasn't my choice, but that's just something that I happen to be so good at, so much better at than a lot of people, and it just made sense for me to do that. But if you're saying, Prince, what profession could you have chosen to make a whole bunch of money and gain a whole bunch of status? I would have done something completely else. And so now I get to take ownership and say, okay, what do I want to do? What do I enjoy doing and can see myself doing for a long time? And I'm at a place where I'm still figuring that out.
It's incredible. Speak to me about the YouTube channel. I think again, this shows like the personality and, again, you're not afraid of the camera. You're not afraid of people. You're a very good communicator. Where did the idea come for the YouTube channel that, you sent me some of the YouTube links and I watched it. It's pretty good. Of course it's based for the kids, but walk us through that idea and how that came to fruition.
Yeah, so had triplets last year, 2 years ago, had triplets.
How,
And
first off, hold on. You
yeah,
say it casually. Anyone
yeah.
that's had kids, you have a newborn, you don't sleep. I can't imagine having two, yet alone three. I mean, going through that venture of having three little ones.
Yeah, so when we went from 2 to 5, and so we have nine and 8 year old. Um, my wife didn't want to have any more kids, and I said, okay, I'm cool with that. I mean, even though our prenup said you're supposed to, I'm kidding, we didn't do a prenup, but 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 she didn't want to have any more kids, which is cool, right? And so, and she's had two C sections, so I get it. But then I think she started watching this show called This Is Us and wanted to adopt, and then I said, all right, but I want to have more of our own kids, so we settled on let's do a surrogate. And so, surrogate is, we used my seed, her egg, makes into an embryo, and then we um, place it inside a surrogate. And so we put twins in the surrogate, a boy and girl. 5 weeks before the surrogate got pregnant, I get my wife pregnant with a
What?
boy. Yeah, with a boy. And so that's why we call them triplets. So they're about 5 weeks apart. And so we celebrate them on the same day and stuff like that to make it easier. So that's the beginning of that story of the triplets. But then now having triplets, and now like they've been watching TV, and even my kids have been watching like TV and YouTube and stuff, and everyone does say it's bad, and I feel like there's a lot of bad stuff on there, but there is a lot of great stuff on there.
Hmm.
And so I was thinking, like maybe I could make something positive, or make something that's worth watching. Like you said, I like being on camera, I like acting, and then so I came up with this character called Mr. A. And so um, the goal was to just meet the kids where they already are. So I'm passionate about education, nutrition, and performance, being physically active. And so that's what the show is about. Every episode, you're going to get something along those lines, whether it's a nutrition tip, something that's informative, that's educational, and then we're gonna get active, whether it's red light, green light for the kids, or a push-up contest, or doing planks, or doing jumping jacks, jump roping. We include all that in there, and it's been fun. And so I have three different segments. So there's one where I'm at a park, and when I introduce those three categories, nutrition, education, and physical activity. And then there's another one where I'll go to like a museum, or I'll go to it's we call it Mr. A field trips, and I'll go to a zoo, and there's educational opportunities there. And then there's another one where it's called Mr. A chats, which is one that I'm probably the most excited about, is where I get to interview professional athletes. And so we've had DeAndre Hopkins on
Hmm.
there. We've had my sister, who's a two-time Olympian, on there, and then now I'm heading down to San Francisco. I'm not going to tell you who I'm gonna get, but I'm headed to San Francisco to get another player, and I got some players on the Bears too. So that one's growing, and that one's exciting. And the reason why I'm so excited about that is because the questions that I'm asking these professional athletes, they're not hey, are you excited for your game coming? Are you excited for your game that's coming up this weekend or anything? It's close to little. It's close to little of anything of their sport, and it's just more about, hey, let's kind of let's childrenize this athlete, and let's make him relatable to the kids, to his audience. And so questions are like, hey, like, what was your favorite book, as a elementary school student? And one of them would say like Harry Potter. So I'm hoping that the kid on the other side could be like, oh shoot, that guy's in the NFL. He liked Harry Potter. He loved reading. Oh, I'm gonna read. I'm gonna read more. Or my favorite questions also is like, hey, what's your favorite fruit or vegetable to eat before a game that gives you fuel? Now that the reason why that question is so awesome, because it's a setup, because that athlete is going to give us a fruit or vegetable. I asked him, what is your favorite fruit or vegetable? And he's going to say, you know what, I love eating avocados and pineapples because of this reason. And again, that's going to inspire the kid on the other side. You know, wow, he loves avocados. Okay, cool. It's gonna challenge the kid to do those things. And so we always say, I don't have to put, because people put like, they'll put athletes on like, was it the Wheaties box and stuff like that to kind of get the kids to eat the Wheaties, the cereal and stuff like that. Is like, no, I'm basically putting LeBron on the face of an avocado because he's talking about avocados and stuff like that. And so I'm just trying to inspire the kids to have healthy habits on and off the court and field.
I love that. And there's like two parts to this because, some people, I feel like my network that I've been around are people such as yourself, Prince, that they believe in, collaboration over competition. They believe that they have a mentality of abundance as opposed to scarcity. And so for someone such as yourself, that's like, I want to give back to kids. I want to build this. Like there is like a good heart to that where you're passionate about it and that's what drives
Right.
you. And then there's the other element that, the reality is in life is I remember I ran track and cross country in high school, right? And so I remember my coach telling me it's not what you know, it's who's you know. And he wasn't saying it in a way that's like to manipulate or use your network. It was more like as you bring value to people, right? And they bring value to you.
Mm,
And as you know people, it does open doors. And to your point, the curiosity, asking questions, it opens up avenues. And a lot of people are like, well, I've been lucky. But if you ask them, it's like, well, they've worked really hard. And by doing that, they've asked the right questions. They've been in front of the right people. And it opens these doors. It opens these amazing opportunities. As you're out of the NFL and now you're kind of doing both, you're looking at, the rising tide raises all ships, giving back to the kids, and then using your network. I mean, again, there's an overlap. It's not like a lot of these players you played with. So how has that relationship continued where they're like, hey, Prince, I'm willing to help you out, even though they may have a big platform like DeAndre Hopkins and be like, Prince, let's do it. I'm going to help you out and let's go. Let's go do this.
yeah, I mean, I'm gonna bring it full circle, but it's the impact that I have on guys like you said, Marcus Wheaton.
Mm-hmm.
Like me, like Marcus Wheaton, what he remembers of me is, dude, Prince was a high spirited guy that always made work fun,
Mm-hmm.
and so
And
it
everyone
kind of
loved him.
and
Yeah.
everyone loved him.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's kind of the reputation that I had in the league. Everyone knows that I mean well, and it's crazy because even the dudes that you don't really get to talk to, they always see from afar. And so I remember quarterback by the name of Mitchell Trubisky. He was our first rounder when I was at the Bears, and going through a tough time like on the field, and then it was crazy because he was just, we're in the weight room, don't really talk to him a lot except on the field, like throw it my way or something like that. But he like opened up to me, and I was just like, it was kind of awkward because it's just like I didn't know we're on that level. Like we don't even really talk like that. But I guess he kind of saw the type of guy I was from afar, and probably just needed someone to rap with, and I was there, and I was there for him, and just chatted with him and stuff like that. And so, and that was something that was easy. And then also one thing that I did that was pretty big was I think like almost every team that I would go to, I would let them know that, hey, I don't drink. I never drank before. So if anybody needs a DD or something, like, hey, if you can't call Uber, call me. I'll come and get you and stuff like that. And again, like you said, just being a value, and saying like, I'm here. I'm here for you guys.
I love that because knowing you on a personal level, Prince, I mean, there's a lot of, you have a lot of core values that you've lived your entire life and you still live today. As you look back, to your Super Bowl season, any memorable moments, something that sticks out to you?
Um, this is probably gonna be. So I remember after Super Bowl. Um, Hold on. So your question was during Super Bowl, was there a moment
But
that?
to answer it how you want to, and then, yeah, we could always go
Okay.
back to see. Yeah.
Okay. I heard the question as what was memorable during Super Bowl. So I'm gonna tell you this. So, um,
Yeah.
there's two moments. Um, Number one was after we had won the Super Bowl, did the snow angels in the confetti. I'm walking back across the field, and I see this person. I'm like, oh shoot, that's a. I said, you're Katy Perry, and then she said, because she was the she performed, and so she was on the field, and so got a picture with her and got to talk to her, and I say that because even though that's Katy Perry, I remember my agent would always say, Prince, you're a celebrity too,
Hmm.
stop, like fanning over these celebrities, like you're a celebrity too and stuff like that. And so two things about that is like I kind of like that. That's my natural instinct to do that because there's like a sense of humility there. But then also it but then also from his side, the other side is like, hey, like you're not below these people. Like and that's anybody. Just because someone's a celebrity, like, hey, I remember I had a teammate that would always say, hey, that person brushes his teeth in the morning just like you do. That person wipes his butt, just like you do and stuff like that. So I got to see both perspectives of that. So that's number one. That was one moment that I remember. The second one was it's the last play of the game, and I don't think a lot of people don't know this, but it's the famous play is called the Hail Mary, right? And for those of you who don't know, the Hail Mary is basically it's it's what it is. It's a Hail Mary, your last prayer, and you're just throwing the ball up, and You're hoping that the offense is hoping that their teammate catches it and scores a touchdown. Defense is hoping that we either get an interception or we knock the ball down. So in the Hail Mary, on offense, I'll tell you how it works on offense. On offense, five receivers run down, right? Everyone else blocks. Five receivers run down. There's one guy in the back of the end zone, and there's two guys in the front, or four guys in the front. Four guys in the front are looking for tip balls because they know as a defense we're trying to bat it down. The guy in the back is looking for a tip that goes in the back so he can track it and catch the touchdown. On defense, we're taught that there's one jumper, and so only one person's supposed to jump. Everyone else is supposed to box out because we know that there's going to be a tip, and we want to catch it or knock it down. But that always goes out the window because first of all, we practice it once every week because again, since it's your last prayer, it's a Hail Mary. How often is it going to happen? So we practice it once a week. But when that day comes, which it did on Super Bowl in February of 2012, it came, and guess what? All of us jumped. All of us jumped. All of us is looking for the ball, and it was crazy because they Tom Brady threw it and Gronkowski almost caught it. And good thing we had a guy by the name of Antrell Rowe, former Cardinal, who came and hit Gronkowski, and then boom, that was it. It's crazy because in a second I could not be a Super Bowl champion, and but in a second I was. And the special thing about that moment is at that moment obviously this is something as kids, right, that we've been dreaming for. Like this is the pinnacle moment. Like this is my first year. I've made the most money that I've ever made up until that time. I'm on the biggest stage of my life. I'm actually playing in the game, and I actually won the game. I mean, Dan Marino hasn't even won a Super Bowl, and
Hmm.
I got lucky enough to win a Super Bowl, and so I'm thinking like this is it. Like I feel like I'm at the pinnacle of success. I won a Super Bowl, and it's crazy because after like it was awesome for maybe that night, and then after that it went away, and then I just realized like yeah, like there's for sure more to life than this. Like this, it's awesome. Again, not talking down of the Super Bowl. I'm glad I'm a champion, but it's not the end all be all.
I love that analogy because I was going to ask you, what that was like having that pinnacle moment, apex of your career, right? That you're at the highest level in the professional sports to get the Super Bowl. And it's such a popular sport, but your take is very, introspective in the sense that, most of us, because if you think about the fan level, fans short for fanatic. And so fans are like, I mean, this is their whole life. But you as an athlete who's
Right,
living this, I mean, you've put in all the work, you've done this, and that you're to you it is. It's a moment where you performed as you should, and it could turn so fast, as you mentioned with the Hail Mary, that it could have been caught. And here you are as, runner up in the Super Bowl. Um, Looking at that experience now, I'm sure you've had highs and lows, right? Whether it's personal life, whether it's business life. How does that set the tone mentally to deal with? Because life of an entrepreneur is up and down. I'm sure there's times where you've probably doubted yourself in your career. Now, there's times to being open. I've doubted myself, running my company. I think that's pretty
right.
natural to us. What keeps you going?
Yeah. Um, I mean, just my position as a cornerback, um, we have to have short-term memory. So, um, like I'm gonna like there's times where I'm gonna get beat for a touchdown or deep pass, and I gotta forget about that and move on, learn from it. And then there's times where I'm gonna make a play, and I have to celebrate that and move on and just go on to the next. So I think there's a sense of going on to the next play. And as long as I'm breathing, as long as I have a pulse, there's always gonna be a next play. And so, how am I going to learn from the previous play and then just continue to move on? I had a coach that always said, "Don't let a bad play turn into a bad day," because and I say that because you'll see people just get on those kind of ruts where it's just like, man, it's like, man, like God, 0 for 5, 0 for 10. And it's just like, and I had another coach, Coach Coughlin, said, "Hey, if you're going through hell, keep going. Don't stop. Just okay. I'm going through hell. Just keep going." So, um, so that's one of the things that always sticks with me is, hey, I don't have time to feel sorry for myself, no matter what. How can I learn from this? How can I move on? And it's I don't want to say it's a learning from it and moving on. I don't want to say like it's a quick transition. I don't know how long that is. Obviously, depending on the circumstance and situation, um, but how can I move on? Like I have to move on. I can't stay in this place because there's people counting on me. There's teammates counting on me. My family's counting on me. I'm counting on myself. I can't stay in this rut. And like I said, I took a lot of hits um, on the chin in the business world, and and learning from it and just keep on moving is been what's helpful. And also the other thing about being curious, this just hit me right now. Being curious and asking questions is that I'm able to the one of the best ways to learn is from other people's mistakes. So how can I, because they already did it for me. They took the test and they're telling me, "Hey, this is the right answer. This is the wrong answer. I got this wrong. So now I'm gonna give you the right answer. You don't have to go through that because I already went through that." And so that's why I like asking a lot of questions. Like, hey, like when like it could be concrete. Like, hey, like did you use anything lower than 3,000 psi? Like, is it best to use rebar? Like, I'm building a pickleball court right now. That's what I'm talking about. That I'm building a pickleball court in my backyard, and so like rebar, mesh, like the psi and
Mhm.
stuff like that. Just finding out all those questions. Gosh, you're probably mad I didn't use you, but you don't do little stuff like that. But you don't do stuff like that. But yeah, just learning that. So because I don't, I mean, obviously I don't want my concrete to sink in. I want it to be strong. I want it to cure and all that stuff. And so that's why I'm always asking those questions just so I can learn from other people, even in even in marriage, even being a husband and being a father. You just have to be curious. And I'm getting older. We're all getting older, and I keep hearing that if you stop learning, that's when like your brain starts dying and stuff like that. So it's I think I'm gonna coin this phrase, but it pays to be curious. It's healthy to be curious. So
Well, I think the bad play to bad day is very interesting because I speak to a lot of builders, and they'll often say, I had this client, and I think a lot of people maybe listen can relate to this. Occasionally, you may get a client that is really difficult, and it makes you think, why, why am I doing this? Like,
Right.
it makes you like not want to quit, but like mentally, you're like, um, just the pain from either it could be litigation, it could be things going wrong, it could be costs, it could be so many things that go into it, and to have someone that's really upset, I think it could be tough for any of us, and so to be able to control that. And for you as an athlete, Prince, I mean, it's easy to say on the surface level, your coach saying, well, bad play shouldn't make a bad day. But I, you know, it's tough because you guys have social media, right?
Yeah.
Again, fans are crazy. You make one bad play and they don't look at the 30 plays you made that were great plays or being in the right
Right.
position throughout the whole game. It's that one play they look at, how, any advice to the mental health aspect to like, how do you avoid that, especially in this day and age?
Yeah, man. Whew, I think it all goes down to identity, right? Like, hey, a football player was something that I was, something that I did, not something that who I not something that not someone that who I am. Like that was a part of my life. Like you said, I'm going into phase two. Okay, with phase one, like people aren't killing me for getting scored on by Devontae Adams right now because that already happened. That was phase one. All right, now I'm on to phase two. So just knowing that, hey, again, cliche, but tough times don't last, tough people do. And
Mm.
so just knowing that, like this too shall pass, like this time is gonna pass, and now we're on to the next. But yeah, man, it gets, and I guess just the confidence and the understanding again of who you are. Like you made those 50 plays right, and then you get number 51 wrong, and it's just like, and even though that one can cost you, like that can cost your team the game, you the contract, like you could have done everything right as a builder, but because you got this one thing wrong, this your client thinks the whole house needs to be redone, or the whole
Right.
house is terrible. It's like whoa, 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 like hey, and so my thing is like, hey, that moment doesn't define me. Okay, how can I learn from this? How can I make this right? Like what can we do instead of just dwelling on that moment? But yeah, with social media, people have, I mean, it's easy to have access to people, and you got to understand from them, right? Like you said, they're fans, fanatics. They're invested,
Mhm.
whether it's money, whether it's time, whether it's their parlay, whether it's whether they drove all the way here or flew all the way here, and you messed up their first game experience and stuff like that. And so you just have to block the noise, and you can't really worry about all that stuff. You have to worry about what really matters, and what really matters is, I mean, is defined by you. But you're right, man, because there was times, I mean, another funny story, I remember, my first year, I had a tough year my first year. Like just broke my foot. So the first time I step on the field, break my foot. So I break my fifth metatarsal in my foot. I put a screw in. Never broken a bone in my body. I get back, 8 weeks later. I'm lined up against Deshaun Jackson, and Vince Young's is at quarterback. Vince Young throws a deep ball to Deshaun. I intercepted. That's my first play. I intercepted. Wow, interception, first play of my career. This is going to be awesome. Well, it wasn't, because I get killed, like the game after that. And I remember someone was in my DMs, because I'm Nigerian. They said, "Oh, you could catch lions and tigers, but you can't catch a receiver." Like there was stuff like that, and like you're a bum, putting trash cans underneath my comments and stuff like that. And this is when social media was just on the rise,
Mhm.
and yeah, that was dealing, and that was hurting me because I was looking at it. But I also saw it as therapy. Like it was a chance. Like, hey, can I face these comments and still go and do my job? Am I going to allow these comments to become true, to speak to who I am, or I'm going to get better? And it's not about proving those comments wrong, but proving myself right. And I feel like I did that most of my career. And the thing about social media is sometimes those things had an effect of how I interacted with the fans, because every time I saw a fan, I'm like, "Ugh, you're the one who was saying like bad stuff about me," or like you don't really care about me. Like you're just, and so I made sure to block that and say, you know what? It's all part of the game. These fans are passionate. They can say whatever. It's not going to affect how I do my job. I'm still going to try to be the best DB I can be. I'm going to study like it, and I'm going to try to perform like it. Of course, I'm going to come up short, but again, I'm going to try to do my best. And then last thing I'll say is that it all comes down to um, it all comes down to how success is measured, right? And so baseball, 3 out of 10 is considered great at
Hmm.
batting. 3 out of 10? Are you kidding me? 3 out of 10. And so because, and I say that to say because of everyone, like every person has their measure of success, and they hold athletes to their measure of success. So LeBron could have scored 50 points, but then missed the last two free throws to win the NBA championship. Oh, Mike's better, Kobe's better, and all of us. Dude, I'm the all-time scoring leader, like in the NBA and stuff like that. Again, I think Michael's. This is a sidebar. I think Michael's the best
I
there ever
agree.
was, but that's my point.
Oh, I love that point. I mean, yeah, we won't sidetrack this with the Michael LeBron debate, right?
Right.
But I mean, at the core, I mean, for you and I, they're very competitive people. It's hard. Not that LeBron's not competitive because you can't be at that level without being so. But Jordan's at another level, right? It's just that
Come on.
that extra. I know. It's just so. It's maybe walk us through. I want to be gracious of your time, Prince, because I know we're about out of it. But maybe take us into as you prepared all week. And for anyone that's just a fan, being like, "Hey, Prince, what's it like as you're
Right.
traveling to go play a road game? What does that preparation look like? When do you get in on Saturday? What is that night, that meal prep? Are you staying in the same hotel? And then as you go into practice, how early before the game? I mean, just the mental prep, physical prep as you're there for that weekend, for that big game.
Yeah. So I'll start by saying this. So tell everyone that how the NFL operates is different than how NBA, MLB, and NHL. From a sense of this, home games we have to stay in the team hotel, and we have a curfew at 11 p.m. I remember when I was playing for the Bears, I saw the Cleveland Cavaliers were in town to play the Bulls, and they were playing the next day, and I was out with them the night before. I'm thinking like, man, it's 1 a.m. Like, what are they still doing? What are they still doing out? And I found out they don't have curfew. Same with same with MLB and same with NHL. So I said, so they operate differently, and at home games they get to sleep in their own home. We have to go back. We have to stay at the team hotel. So if I'm playing for the Giants, so to answer your question, if I'm playing for the Giants and we have a game in San Francisco, meaning whole new time zone,
Hmm.
meaning a longer hours of travel. Um, Game is on Sunday. Some teams will go on a Friday and get there on a Friday, and do like a walkthrough and stuff like that. Coach Coughlin, our coach, he had a stat where if we stayed one night in the opponent's team's town, where our winning percentage is higher. So we would always go on Saturday, the day before. So we'll get there on Saturday. We'd always get there around 4, and on long flights like that, always checking in. I mean, always drinking on the airplanes, meaning drinking water, staying hydrated, because we all know that when you're on a flight, you get dehydrated.
Hmm.
And then when we get to the hotel at 4, you kind of have free time to do whatever you want. So say hi to family, go to dinner, and then at 7:30 or 7 p.m. we have a team meeting. Team meeting, coach shows highlights, last finishing touches. Um, we um, we show our team highlight from the game before if we won, and we're just like, he's trying to pump us up. And then we break off into our defensive and offensive meeting, and then we go over last finish stuff. Hey, remember keys to success, all this stuff. And then we have like then we have dinner there if you want it. Then we have and snack. Then we have a team chapel, if you want to go. And then after that, so you can be done as early as 9 or as early as 8:30, and then curfew is at 11. But you can stay in your room. You can stay up all night. And
Yeah.
so for me, um, If I have if I'm facing a Calvin Johnson or Devontae Adams, I'm not having the best sleep the night beforehand, and but if I'm facing someone that I'm not too worried about, I'm sleeping like a baby. I'm sleeping good. Yeah, and then even on the day before, depending on what time the game is, you always have to be there. And again, if you're late to any of these times, that's a fine.
Mhm.
And it's I mean, I've seen a fine as big as 5,000, 13,000 for being late and even for missing. And so there's always somebody checking, and if you're not there, because someone has to check to let the coach know, hey, everyone's here. And if the coach starts and there's someone that wasn't there, you just get it's like bad news. You might as well just stay out, and hopefully they counted you, and then you just join in later. And so, but yeah, that whole process before playing to the game is like, even though it's a short amount of time, it's just so it's a lot of anxiety, a lot of nerves, just because you've worked all week for this one game, and you wanna do your best at it, and you don't know how it's gonna go. And I'm not even adding injury to it. You're just trying to you're just trying to do what the coach says and be in the right position and stuff like that. Like, and now you have injury to worry about, which I don't think anyone ever thinks about. But it is I mean, football is 100% injury rate. Like, you're gonna get injured regardless of what the injury is. You're gonna get injured, and so no one ever thinks about that. But it's still part of the game.
Yeah, well, Prince, you've been amazing. I appreciate you leading us into kind of what it's like, with travel, staying, even having stayed in a hotel, the home game, and again, appreciate the friendship, all that you've done for me, and appreciate you greatly. So, with that being said, where can our listeners find you?
They can find me. Let's see.
YouTube
Find me
channel,
everywhere.
your Instagram
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
handle.
So yeah, all Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, is Prince Amukamara, and then my Mr. A Adventures. So Mr. A Adventures. It's on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and yeah, it's growing. About to start a newsletter and give out some free swag, and so look out for more episodes on that end.
Well, you've been awesome, Prince. And one of these days, just Prince tried to bet me that if he beats me in a 3-point shootout, I have to build this house for $300 a square foot. But if I win, I get to build it at 1,500.
Yeah,
We
I don't think I
haven't.
would take the bet. I'm not taking that bet.
I'm not taking-
After what I saw last night too, I think you were just on because of the competition. But I think if money was really on the table, I think your heart would be pounding a little bit. It might affect your shot.
well, you're the best, Prince. Appreciate you, man. We'll see you.
Thank you for having me.
If you get value from the show, please support us by giving a 5-star rating and review on whatever platform you listen to. And I also have a favor to ask. We've had some incredible guests that come on and share their wisdom, their knowledge about their business. So if you have friends or family members that could benefit from those episodes, please share it with them, as well as any other business owners that you're networking with that could get value from the podcast or certain episodes. Please share those as well. Again, subscribe, make sure you're following. Any questions that you have, topics. We've had listeners reach out about certain guests that we should have on the show. Again, brad.l@aftconstruction.com. Email me for topics to address, guests that we should have on, and even if you think you'd be a great guest for the show. So again, thank you for all your support, and we'll see you next time.